Now I want to say something about the evangelical upsurge. Although it's true that mainline denominations have been declining and evangelical affiliation has been increasing, what's also true is that the number of people who say, in response to polls, that they just have no religion has been increasing. It's still quite small. The last poll showed 16%. So that's a small number, but it's the fastest growing general category of religion in this country. In absolute numbers, that category has grown faster than anybody. A year ago it was 15%, it's now 16%, but according to the Pew survey that was published last month. And now only a small proportion of that 16% call themselves atheists or agnostics. And I must say, it causes me a bit of embarrassment to have to reveal that some of the people who say they're atheists, when they get to the separate bit about do you believe in God, say yes. So, but that's just part of the course as far as religion goes. People don't pay attention for long enough to get these things right, or to have a story that's completely consistent. So, if you take the growth of the no religion category, the unaffiliated, unchurched, people who say I just have no religion. If you take those people and add them to the decrease in the mainline churches, then of course you find that evangelicalism has not made gains as a proportion of the total population. The mainline people have declined, the secular people have increased, the evangelicals have increased slightly by a smaller margin than the secular increase. The second thing, which I really like this next bit because it was a surprise to me when I encountered it, but then after thinking about it for 2 minutes, I said, of course. When you hear that in the 50s, 60s, 70s, and 80s, the evangelicals were increasing, affiliation to evangelical churches was increasing, affiliation to mainline Protestant churches was declining, your natural assumption is people are finding evangelicalism more attractive in some way than mainline Protestantism. And so they're not going to the Episcopalian church, instead they're going to the Baptist church. That's the picture you have. But what's really happening is something quite different. That evangelicals have more children, and they have them sooner than mainline Protestants. And in fact, the entire explanation for this growth, this resurgence of evangelicalism after the Second World War is demographic. It's because evangelical comes from the Greek Evangelion, which means good news. The evangelicals haven't heard the good news that 30 is the new 20, and 40 is the new 30, and 50 is the new 40. So they're the people who have this old-fashioned pattern of child raising. The biggest statistical predictor of whether someone will start going to church is whether they get married, and the second biggest statistical predictor is when they start having children. So the old way was that a minister of religion would confirm a girl at 13. Then he wouldn't see the girl again. It was always a he. He wouldn't see that girl again for 5 years. She'd be gone from the church. But she'd come back at 18 to get married. Maybe she'd start attending the church regularly. But if she didn't, never worry. 1 year later, at 19, she'd come back to church to baptize the first baby. And then she'd very likely start attending the church regularly and bring her husband too. Because women are more interested in church going than men. Just a statistical fact. It's not an insult to women. And women also sometimes make their husbands do things. So marriage and having children is a good statistical predictor of going to church. Now, of course, in the modern world, it's not like that. You confirm the girl at 13, then she's gone. And if she comes back, it's going to be when she's 28. And then she's not going to have children for a few years until she gets panicky about missing out on having children. So this is a different world we're living in, and the evangelicals and the Islamic fundamentalists will tell you it's a decadent world that's about to be overtaken by the fertile of the earth, which, as I said, is somewhere I'm not going to go. Now, I should say, just because I'm a particularly conscientious kind of person, that there is one exception to my statement that the evangelical upsurge is not due to conversion from mainline Protestantism. It's due to having babies. And that is that in the Hispanic world, there has been a major shift, conversion of Catholics to Pentecostals. That is something that goes throughout Latin America, in every Latin American country at different rates, but also the Latin American diaspora in places like the United States. And it's something we just have to take as a fact, that Catholics are converting to Pentecostals. Pentecostals, nearly everybody classifies Pentecostals as a form of evangelical. So Pentecostal basically is evangelical plus speaking in tongues. And South America is rapidly becoming Pentecostal, in case anybody hasn't told you this. It's ceasing to be Catholic. It's happening at different rates in different places. But this is also happening to Latinos in the United States. Pentecostal churches in Spanish are springing up everywhere, including several places I pass every day in Chicago.